Today we're jumping into one of the first and honestly one of the most intense crises in American history. We're going to focus on the incredibly tough choices facing the nation's second president, John Adams.
Seriously, just for a second, put yourself in his shoes. You're in charge of a brand new country. A global superpower is messing with your ships, and your own political party, your friends, are screaming for war. What do? There are no easy answers here, and that's the exact spot John Adams found himself in.
So let's set the stage. Who was this president, and what kind of pressure was he really under? We need to understand the challenges he inherited right from the start.
I mean, this was a total perfect storm. You've got this new country, it's not a world power yet, and it's just trying to stay out of trouble. But France, which is a superpower, is grabbing American ships left and right. And then, back home, the pressure is just massive. Adams's own party, the Federalists, are banging the drums for war. They see it as a chance to defend national honor, yeah, but also to unite the country and maybe even weaken their political rivals.
Now, Adams didn't want a war, so his first move was to try and talk it out, diplomacy. But this attempt to make peace backfired spectacularly. It would go down in history as the XYZ affair.
So Adams sends his best people over to Paris to negotiate. But when they get there, they're basically told to sit in the waiting room. The French government just straight up refuses to see them. Then, these three secret agents, who we now call X, Y, and Z, show up with this outrageous demand. They say, pay us a massive bribe, and then we'll think about letting you talk to our guy. It was just a stunning, unbelievable insult.
So you can imagine, when news of this insult gets back to America, the country just explodes. The calls for war turn into a roar, and this puts President Adams at a huge crossroads. Does he give his party the war they're practically begging for, or is there another way?
And this right here, this quote, it just nails the dilemma he was in. His allies, his supporters, the people who put him in office, they're all demanding action. The easy political move would have been to declare war and just ride that wave of patriotism, but Adams, he hesitated. And in the end, he chose peace. He just understood that the United States was too young, too fragile, and honestly too broke to get into a fight with a major European power. A war could have completely crushed the new nation before it ever really got on its feet. What Adams did here is a textbook example of something called civic virtue. It's this idea that a leader has to put the good of the whole country, the long-term health of the nation, above their own popularity or what their political party wants. Adams basically sacrificed his own political career for what he thought was right for the country.
But wait, the story doesn't stop there. So while Adams managed to avoid a war with France, that war fever at home created this climate of really intense fear and suspicion. And that turmoil gave his Federalist Party an opening to pass some of the most controversial laws in American history, laws aimed right at their political opponents.
And here they are, the Alien and Sedition Acts. The Alien Act gave the president this huge power to jail or deport any non-citizen he just thought was a threat. But the Sedition Act, wow, that one made it a federal crime to say or write anything critical about the government. I mean, think about that for a second.
And this is where you get a head-on collision. On one side, you have the Sedition Act, making it illegal to criticize your leaders. And on the other side, you have the First Amendment, which explicitly guarantees freedom of speech. You literally cannot have both. This was setting the stage for a major, major constitutional fight. Now, you can't just pass a law like that and expect everyone to be okay with it, right? This massive overreach did not go unchallenged. A powerful counter-argument started to build, led by Adams's biggest political rivals. And that response came in the form of the Virginia and Kentucky resolutions. But get this, the guys writing them in secret, none other than the Vice President Thomas Jefferson and the future President James Madison. They made this incredibly bold claim that the Alien and Sedition Acts were unconstitutional and that the states themselves had the right, even the duty, to stand up to the federal government.
This introduced a really radical idea called nullification. Jefferson and Madison were arguing that if the federal government passed the law that was unconstitutional, a state could just nullify it, basically declare it void and powerless inside its own borders. This idea of states' rights would pop up again and again, leading to even bigger crises down the road.
And that's what's so fascinating, right? This whole saga brings us right back to a question we are still wrestling with today. How do we balance keeping the nation safe with protecting free speech? That tension isn't some dusty thing from the 1790s. John Adams' dilemma is still our dilemma. And where we draw that line is a question every single generation has to answer for itself.